Welcome to Clocking In, Voices of NC Manufacturing. I'm your host, Phil Mintz, Director of the North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership, otherwise known as NCMEP. My role is to drive outreach to NC manufacturers, build relationships to federal and state leaders, and coordinate efforts to drive profitable manufacturing growth in North Carolina. Throughout my time working closely with manufacturers, I have heard the most quirky, curious, and memorable stories. I wanted to turn these stories into a podcast so that others may hear and be informed and inspired. From humble beginnings to manufacturing titans, from tragedy to triumph, I will be interviewing some of these manufacturers who have made North Carolina manufacturing the powerhouse that it is today. The evolution of rope protection and climbing gear has been shaped by centuries of exploration, ingenuity, and relentless pursuit of safety and efficiency. Fjord, a company named for the fjords of Norway, was incorporated in the state of North Carolina as a small business entity in 1997. This climbing protection manufacturer is based in Burlington, North Carolina, and operates under their U.S. and EU registered trade name ChafePro. So the reason why we're talking about them today is that Fjord won the 2023 Coolest Thing Made in North Carolina contest for the small business category for their strap static rope edge protectors. So today I'm sitting down with CEO and owner of Fjord, Michael Radigan. Radigan has been with Fjord for over 15 years, but his father got it started, so we'll learn a little bit more about that. We also have Jasmine Kursak here as the general manager of Fjord, and we're talking to them both today about the company and why it's so cool. So how you doing today?
Doing well.
Let's start with that. I mean, the coolest thing made in North Carolina has kind of a really interesting. Why was it selected as that? What's cool? What's so cool about Fjord?
So, thank you. We were nominated by the Alamance Chamber of Commerce for our product, STREP, Static Rope Edge Protection, which is a product that protects synthetic ropes on the edges of buildings, on the edges of cliffs for rope access workers, search and rescue, fire rescue units, protects their rope from chafe abrasion and getting cut on the edges. So we took our technology from ChafePro that was developed in the early 90s and created a product and system product line for this market, for the climbing and rope access market industry. And the Alamance Chamber of Commerce thought we were pretty cool with this product line, and so they nominated us, and then the world kind of voted.
Yeah. So let's talk about how the business got going.
Sure.
You told me your father started it. Tell me how that happened.
Yeah. So my dad, Captain Ed Radigan, was in the Navy, and he had seen his sailors sew fire hose onto mooring lines to protect the mooring lines from chafe abrasion. And so he thought there has to be a easier method, a faster way. And so fast forward to the 1980s when we were stationed out in the South Pacific, or when my dad was stationed out in the South Pacific in the Republic of the Marshall Islands. He had gone to one of the islands and camped overnight, and when he emerged and go back to the boat in the morning, he noticed on the anchor line that was up on the beach there was a bunch of hitchhikers on the rope. And so that's where he came up with the idea, I can take hook and loop material. The hook, basically, as we know, is Velcro. I can hook that onto rope, which will hold it in place. So he had the very first patented product for removable rope protection systems, where it opens and closes with hook and loop, and there's hooks on the inside as well to hold it in place on the line. And that was his idea. And then it was working with different textiles to figure out what is a good abrasion-resistant product and material. And so over the years of experimenting, we came up with and developed with a local, here in the Carolinas, with a local weaving company. We have our own proprietary weave that is woven specifically for abrasion resistance. And also UV, protects against UV degradation, mold, mildew as well, which are ideal for the marine environment, especially for being outdoors. So it holds up to abrasion and it holds up to the other elements as well. And then that's when he built the product line and trademarked the name Chafe Pro, and that patent was issued in 1995, I believe, or 93. So is when that patent was issued.
So you talked about, I think, growing up in Alamance County in Burlington before we got started. So how early were you involved in the company?
Sure. So I was born here in North Carolina in Winston-Salem and grew up in Burlington. We moved away in 85 to the Marshall Islands, Kwajalein, a U.S. Army base out there. And that's when Dad created the product line. And so we were a sailing family, so I saw all of his early prototypes. I worked on tugboats during my summers when I turned 16. So I grew up in the marine industry. And so I saw the product develop over the years. And then after high school, I went off to college at UNC Wilmington and did my undergrad and grad school work there. At which point, then went on my own and made my own way through life in New York City. I moved there a week after 9/11, and then moved down to South Florida 1 year later, where I became a high school English teacher and coach. And then I decided after 6 years of that to come home and try my hand at Mom and Dad's business.
That's always an interesting conversation when it's like, when did you think you were going to be a part of the family business?
Yeah, no, it was the type of thing that I wanted to find myself and find out life on my own, so to speak. And so I did, and, like I said, lived in New York City for a year. And that was a great experience, especially right after 9/11. The whole city was coming together and healing. It was a great time to live there and experience that. And then, like I said, I moved down to South Florida, and I enjoyed teaching and coaching, and it was a great opportunity for me. But, in education, what your limit is in terms of what you can earn. And as an entrepreneur, it's what you make of it. So I knew there'd be a lot of hard work. So I moved back to North Carolina, and we outsourced all of our manufacturing at the time to a cut and sew shop in Gibsonville. And I did this out of my mom and dad's basement. It was September 2008 that I moved back home. Here we are in 2024, and we own a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility now in Burlington. And
that's great. I was going to ask Jasmine about the facility. I guess that's a part of your job is to kind of run that thing, right?
Yeah, that is my job.
So how many people are there? And
So it's about 9 people, including us. We have 6 sewers full-time who are skilled industrial sewers, and they make our products.
Yeah. So talk about the volumes of things. I mean, who buys these and how much do they get?
The Chafe Pro product, which is our primary product, that is on over 95% of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter fleet and over 70% of the U.S. Navy fleet. That's where my mom and dad kind of got started. And then from there, we started to grow into the commercial shipping and towing industry. So you've got companies such as Maersk Tankers, Chevron, Exxon, Crowley. Those are some of our commercial marine industry customers. And one of the other things that I did when I first got involved was make that transition into the mega yacht industry market. So through our distributors to that market, we are on approximately 65 to 70% of the global mega yacht market. And then we also have the recreational boating market, and that's our Chafe Pro side. The Strep side of things, Strep was kind of my COVID project. When the world kind of shut down in March of 2020, I didn't feel that it was the time to look for new business per se or reach out to current customers and try and grow them. We're an essential business because we take care of the military, we take care of the ports. So we were fortunate that we were able to stay open, but I didn't want to look for new business in a pandemic time. And so we kind of looked into our trove of products that we had made in the past, and we're like, well, let's look at something. And so it was Strep that we decided, let's bring this back out, because we had created in 2012, but we're not climbers and we're not rope access workers, so we didn't really know that market. And so again, since my background was working on tugs and Dad's was in the Navy and we're sailors, we knew the marine industry side. So we got on Instagram and reached out to some rope access people, some search and rescue people, and said, this is what we do. We have a product. We'd be happy to send it to you and see if this has a need in your industry. And so they all basically said, yeah, this is great. It's better than anything we've seen. So that's when we decided, let's make a full product line for the search and rescue industry, for the rope access industry, and let's have products that are specific for rope access workers, products that are specific for search and rescue, products that are specific to fire and rescue operations. So rather than just letting them have what's currently out there, 2 or 3 products, that's all they have. We have over 50 SKUs just for this market for people to choose from.
We're speaking with Michael Radigan of Fjord. He's the CEO, and we have Jasmine Kursak also. Here's the general manager of Fjord, and they have this coolest thing made in North Carolina items. And so Jasmine, you don't hear too much about cut and sew operations being run. Is it interesting to have that now and getting people to do that?
Yes, I mean, it is challenging to find skilled sewers. It is a dying industry, but it's an interesting job, and it's a skill that not many people really are looking to acquire either. So we try to make our facility the best environment to work in and value our employees. We've had several employees who have been with us for almost 10 years. And it's not what you would think is a cut and sew shop at all. It's a very nice facility.
Yeah, so I would guess, there's no really community college class. But they don't really focus on that much anymore. So you kind of have to do your own, start from scratch. You have to convince them that this is a good job, or is that what you do?
Our sewers that we have been sewing for over 20 years. They're great at what they do, so we don't have to really train them. And I'll let Jasmine go into this, we are making a transition, and Jasmine knows where I'm going with the machinery. I'll let Jasmine
talk about
that.
The technology piece.
So we are trying to transition into automation because, we have skilled sewers who we need to do the very skilled work, making our products that are custom and things that require more labor. And so to help with that process, make efficiency a priority, we have looked to invest in automation. And with that, we were able to acquire the largest sewing machine in the country, I believe.
In the world,
In the world.
Largest programmable sewing machine.
Yes,
sir.
All right. You just stick the material in there and it comes out.
Kind of. we have to cut it, but there's clamping procedures and stuff that will hold the material in place. For our strep product line, one of our more popular products, our edge mat. If we get an order for, say, 250 edge mats, it would take our sewers 2 weeks from start to finish to do that whole order and ship that out, doing pretty much nothing but that. But now with this machine, we can ship 250 in 4 days.
Wow.
So it's mass producing for us, but our skilled sewers still have to do the technical stuff of adding the trim and adding the details that go into it. This is basically taking our 5 or 6 layers, depending on the model, and sandwiching them together and sewing them together so that we can mass have those come out the same way every single time, and then based off of the model or what the customer's needs are, our sewers can then add the extras that are needed that make that product.
Yeah, it's a great example of what, we all know working in what I work in is that we now need people and machines to grow. You don't need less people. You still need the people.
Oh, yeah.
But you need them to work with the machines.
Right. Not necessarily replacing them at all.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We need the help, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a tough message, People see machinery and, they still remember back whenever machines kind of took over jobs. But,
No, it's not taken, and that's the great thing for us is because we're small, it's not replacing our sewers. We still need our sewers. And then we have a couple other programmable machines, for instance, that'll do our bar tacking or our box X's. It takes, by hand, 32 seconds to do one box X, which is a box with an X in it. But if we put it on one of the programmables, it's done in 8 seconds. And when you have 4 of those on an edge mat, that's 2 minutes and 8 seconds just as sew time versus 32 seconds as sew time. So when you're mass producing, those little things is still done by a person, it's still done by a skilled sewer. It's just the machine is doing it at a much faster output.
Well, not only do you have a cool thing that you make, but you got a cool way of making it. That'd be interesting to come see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we really do appreciate your time stopping by to talk to us about the coolest thing made in North Carolina. Been talking to Michael Radigan and Jasmine Kursick of Fjord Incorporated in Burlington, North Carolina, my old hometown. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you for joining today's Clocking In, Voices of NC Manufacturing. This podcast is brought to you by NC State's College of Engineering, the North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and Industry Expansion Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about the solutions NCMEP offers, go to www.ncmep.org. Want to listen to previous Clocking In podcasts? Go to ncmep.org/clockingin.